30 years ago, during the last week of September 1986, the remnants of Mexico's Hurricane Payne brought heavy rainfall across northern Oklahoma and southern Kansas. It dumped over 20 inches on the Arkansas River watershed, filling Keystone Lake to capacity. On October 4th, 1986, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers had to open Keystone Dam's floodgates and release the excess water downstream to keep from overtopping the dam. Water rushed toward Tulsa at a rate of 300,000 cubic feet per second, or 135 million gallons per minute.
We had imperfect knowledge with respect to exactly how much runoff was coming into Keystone because we had a limited number of gauges. And so your forecasts are based on what your gauges show that you have in terms of the upstream flow.
Riverbanks flooded in Sand Springs, Tulsa, Jenks, and Bixby. On October 5th, 1986, the Arkansas River in Tulsa crested at 25.21 feet, the highest ever recorded.
It was a continual operation at that point to determine where to hold water and where to release water and how to minimize flooding.
The 1986 flood, although not the first flood along the Arkansas River, was the first in Tulsa since the Keystone Dam had been built in 1964. The Corps had warned that Keystone could overflow every 25 years or so.
Water has just been reported over Riverside Drive.
Thousands had to evacuate their homes. Many people formed sandbagging crews to try to stop the water, impacting Riverside Drive north of 21st Street. The Garden City neighborhood on the west bank of the river flooded to the rooftops, and the water receded very slowly. More than 1,800 homes and businesses went underwater. Tulsa County damages were estimated at $63.5 million. That's in 1986 dollars, which would be the equivalent to $137.4 million in 2016. One lesson learned from the 1986 flood is the value of partnerships. The Corps and the National Weather Service have coordinated through better communications and advanced technology.
A big change that's occurred since '86 was the installation of the NexRad radar system and the precipitation information that you get from that radar system. So now we partner with the Weather Service and we get rainfall data from them that goes into our forecast models, and that has tremendously improved our ability to forecast our reservoirs.
We can share information so much more quickly. Back 20, 30 years ago, we would have to wait for the Corps of Engineers to tell us what they intended to do, and we would be holding for sometimes what seemed like a long time when you're thinking about a flood warning.
New development has occurred in areas impacted by the 1986 flood. Although progress has been made in forecasting, experts warn the Arkansas River is still at risk of flooding.
So you never can let your guard down. You always need to prepare for each season that brings heavy rains and be alert to what can happen in the weather around here.
Charles Hart, who worked as a hydrologist and city engineer for Tulsa before serving as public works director, was a consultant who oversaw master drainage planning for the city of Tulsa at the time of the 1986 flood.
The Arkansas River, we've always known, was different than the other watersheds that we had developed master drainage plans for, and it being 168,000 square mile watershed was totally inconsistent with the hydrology that we were developing for all these individual drainage master plans.
The city of Tulsa has come a long way in flood control, having completed more than $500 million in flood control projects. The city created a stormwater management program to address localized flooding that devastated areas of the city in the Memorial Day flood of 1984. And since the major floods of the 1980s, Memorial Day '84 and October '86, Tulsa has developed a national model for stormwater management of its local streams. All new construction in the city of Tulsa is required to elevate to 1 foot above the 100-year floodplain.
Mingo Creek, we were having discussions with the Corps, and we actually got the Corps to adopt the master drainage, amend their plan instead of just building the channel wider, to actually build 28 detention ponds, real large storage facilities, and you see those as open spaces. We don't have the ability to control the watershed, and we did with the localized streams.
As a result of that work and that model for the nation, Tulsans in a special flood hazard area may purchase flood insurance at a 40% discount. All other policies receive a 10% discount. Everyone should consider flood insurance. More than 25% of flood insurance claims are on properties outside of a special flood hazard area. But property owners have to know they need the insurance, and in many cases must ask a real estate agent if their property is in a floodplain. Residents in those areas that have been developed since 1986 should be aware of the risk and be prepared. Tulsa's system has not been tested by a catastrophic rainfall since 1986, but leaders say it is critical to plan for the next flood.
Does it happen this year? Does it happen 40 years from now? There will be more major floods in that basin, and there may be floods that are significant enough that a big release like the one that occurred in 1986 occurs again. So we always have to remain vigilant for that risk.